How does your brain get hooked on explicit matter moving towards a porn addiction? Science shows that 57% of men between the ages of 30 and 49 have watched porn within the last month. What we also know is 74% of men who watched porn within the last 24 hours felt lonely and worse about themselves. So we know porn is viewed by the vast majority of men of all ages between 18 and 64. So, what does this mean? It means that porn sucks you in. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh, certified brain health and sex addiction recovery coach. As a cognitive neuroscientist, I want to share with you how porn sucks your brain in, how it pulls it in, and eventually ends up pushing you in also. So, we have to take this story back to the first time you were exposed to porn. Scientifically, on that first exposure, the seeds of addiction were planted. What happens is when you first see porn, it changes the way that your brain needs dopamine, the neurotransmitter of more motivation and pleasure. So, on those first few exposures, the homeostasis or the baseline in your brain was changed to need more dopamine to feel good. It's called habituation, and it continues to happen over time if you continue to go back and water those seeds. So, with frequent, consistent, and especially increasing intensity in porn consumption, your brain needs more and more dopamine. And what that does is it leads to what I call the 4D cycle of porn addiction. So, the first D is a dopamine drip. You feel this drip when you have a change internally, an urge, a craving, the need to feel pleasure. Science shows that need comes from the need to offset negative emotions or boredom, stress and boredom, essentially. So you feel stressed, you feel bored, you have an emotion that you have taught your brain to escape, not approach and engage, and you will sense that as an urge to watch porn from the inside. Honestly, it has very little to do with sex and it has everything to do with dopamine for mood regulation. So that drip starts dripping, and you have 3 seconds to pivot out of it before the dopamine deluge will start in your brain and it will move you towards porn consumption. So when you consume porn, then the deluge, the flood gets cranking, and before you know it, your brain is drowned out in excessive amounts of dopamine, just the way that you've taught it to feel good, to numb out those feelings that you were avoiding. So now the dopamine drowning is happening, but you might not know that is desensitizing the dopamine receptors in your brain. So ultimately, the fourth D in this cycle is a dopamine deficit. Now your brain feels worse than it would without porn in your life. What that does is it increases anxiety, it increases the feelings of overwhelm and depression, it makes you feel lonely, it makes you feel worse about yourself. That fourth D, the deficit of dopamine, is inherently what pushes you back in, and the supernormal stimuli of porn with its excessive dopamine is what pulls you. So now this 4D cycle will continue to cycle, typically habitually, and if you keep serving your brain with dopamine, it will need more and more and more. So what do you do about it? Your brain becomes hooked on porn. That explicit matter equals the way that you offset stress and boredom. So, where the problem lies, so does the solution. It can be very tricky to break the dopamine cycle and to alleviate this push and pull, but your brain is looking for dopamine for mood regulation. So, ultimately, if you can teach your brain how to get mood regulation in a healthy way, not an unhealthy way, your brain can be retrained and unhooked from the pull of porn. So you are not alone in this. I gave you those statistics at the beginning to let you know porn addiction is increasing at alarming rates. It is going up. So it's imperative that you break this push and pull cycle before it creates the downward spiral, a negative feedback loop that can only lead to more devastation in your brain, in your thought system, and in your behaviors. I work with thousands of clients who have unhooked their brain from porn to find that their life, their work, their relationships, and their sex life is better than ever when they leave porn behind. You may also not be aware that porn consumption, with its dopamine dependency, is what's at the root of increased erectile dysfunction, especially in young men. So, if you struggle with sexual arousal dysfunction, what I call SAD, it is related to your porn habit, your unassuming porn habit that is desensitizing those dopamine receptors in your brain. When that happens, you need excessively high levels of stimulation to become and to stay aroused. So if you're having challenges with sexual arousal dysfunction, your brain's hooked on porn and it's part of the problem. So if you want to learn more about how you can unhook your brain from porn and a very specific formula for doing so, please go over to drtrishleigh.com. The formula that I offer is comprehensive. It's a neuro-bio-psychosocial approach. It regulates your brain, neuro. It helps to improve the way you use your body, bio, the way you use your mind, psycho, within the construct of your social relationships. It's got everything you need to unhook your brain from porn. So please go over to drtrishleigh.com. And as always, control your brain or it'll control you.